Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the program Ventures. On the program today, we're going to be taking a look at an agri product, its position in Nigeria's economy, and how it is affecting the general business atmosphere, especially on exports. Do stay with us as we're going to be looking at ginger. Don't go anywhere.
Selling your goods, products and services locally is good, but it can get better when you trade with other nations. With a strategy to diversify the productive base of the Nigerian economy away from oil, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council is driving the Export for Survival initiative. Come on board. Let's take you through major non-oil products you can export and earn at international rates as we equip you with the required knowledge and skills for a successful export business. Export for Survival remains a viable option for economic growth and survival.
Okay, with me in the studio today is Gagarin Madaki. He is the President, National Ginger Association of Nigeria. Sir, welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about this very important crop. First of all, ginger is an export crop, right?
That's correct.
Okay, tell us a little bit about how it is fared in agribusiness.
Oh, well, now there are multiple sides to that question. First, you have to look at the market from locally, regionally, and then, of course, export. Now, regionally, I'm talking about our place in West Africa. Nigeria is, as you know, not only the highest producer in Africa, but the second largest producer in the world. And our ginger moves from mostly 85% of the ginger is produced in southern Kaduna, and it moves to borders like Benin, Chad, Sudan. It's a big market for those regions. It's a growing demand for it in Nigeria as well. So I guess I would say that its importance cannot be overemphasized, and there's generally great demand for it, and the demand is increasing nearly globally.
Where does the majority of the ginger go? Does it go to pharmaceuticals? Does it go to food? What basically is it used for, Nigeria's ginger especially?
I'm sure for a fact that the ginger that we have, the Indians go for our ginger because the oil content is high. You can extract a lot of essential oils and oleoresin from it. So they take it to India, and from there they extract it, and then the waste is still pungent, and then they use it as what they call mild ginger. So that's industry, but I know that most of the market here in Nigeria, we don't have extraction plants apart from probably two. Okay. And but mostly it's culinary services. It's herbs, but its application globally, it's different. You have fresh ginger, you have mashed ginger, you have the fresh ginger juice, you have the mashed ginger used in meals. So I would say, I don't know the vote, what goes to, but I think it is more used as a culinary, and it's eaten.
Okay.
Yes.
So how much of processing do we do in Nigeria?
Processing, there's value add. You dry and split ginger, you leave it at that stage and you export it, or you grind it into powder and supply spice companies which use them to, as you know, or the fresh one goes to beverage companies. They use it for beverages. Some beverages now have a tint of ginger in it. Okay. I believe that's fresh ginger. Okay. The dry ginger is powdered ginger is spices, and this dry split one is exported. Usually the export market doesn't want your powdered ginger because they are afraid of adulteration. They prefer to buy dry split themselves and grind it themselves. Okay. Except, of course, the company has its quality control representative here. Then it's okay, we're sure that they haven't mixed anything. And then, what I don't know of such companies yet, but we are fighting to break into that market.
Okay. Yes. So what is our phytosanitary level I mean, what's our level? What is our grade on the world scale? Do we still have issues with the quality and the purity of our ginger? Do we still have that problem on the world market?
Sadly, yes, we do. Sadly, yes, we do. It's a bit of a tough one, and I'll tell you why. We are not very strict in Nigeria about the quality of what we eat. We're not strict. Now, you have various markets. You have Southeast Asia, Dubai. You have Europe, US. Now, and of course, China. Now, the standards for each of these countries in different continents are set by them. The highest standard is EU and Australia. Although we don't export to Australia, they have their own local ginger. But Netherlands is the largest importer of Nigeria, ginger in Europe. We're looking at 32,000 metric tons a year. And Europe generally takes somewhere like 250,000 metric tons, 26,000 in England, 23,000 in Germany. So France also has about 19,000 tons. This is what they consume of fresh and dry ginger yearly. But of course, a lot of the greater percentage of that ginger is fresh. And unfortunately in Nigeria here, we don't really export fresh ginger. And especially because our ginger is smaller in size and not as pungent. The Chinese ginger, which is the very big one that you see on the shelf, is not really that much quality. But ours, arguably, is about the best in the world for pungency and oil. In that category, it's the best. And then the next would be in line, I think, to that, second or third, in terms of quality, is the Peruvian ginger.
Okay.
Yes.
So generally, how many metric tons do we produce in Nigeria yearly?
The statistics for that also, we're fighting hard to get it. And I can tell you, we have what has been recorded by NEPC and quarantine services, what leaves Nigeria, but that is not a reflection of what we consume. There's a problem, and that's because ginger is produced, like I said, 85% southern Kaduna, but you have pockets of production in Zamfara, Nasarawa, Benue, Ondo, and Osun, and regions like that. So we are trying to set up a structure now that would allow us to track the farmers that are producing in those regions.
Who certifies the standard? I know that the person that's going to the country that's importing has a standard.
Yes.
Then it is left to the country that is exporting to step up to that standard. So is Nigeria able to step up to the standard as you're saying?
Yes and no. Now, we have certification is wide. You have global gap, and you have organic certificate, and then you have, of course, good manufacturing practice and various others. Now, global gap, it's tedious and pretty expensive to run, pretty expensive. And with global gap, and which is one of the major reasons why we cannot export fresh ginger, our ginger does not have global gap certification. If it had global gap, I'll be able to walk into the stores in Walmart or Tesco's and tell them I have ginger, and they will say, yes, okay, supply us. But because of the lack of that certification, we can't speak to almost anybody about, and the size, those are two factors inhibiting us from exporting fresh ginger. Now, the other certification will be organic certification. Now, it's sad, I must tell you this, that global gap, in Ghana, you have over 1,000, in Kenya 2,000, in Nigeria not one has global gap. We have all reached stage 1, stage 2 of my global gap training, but stage 2 is it's quite expensive. We have to build toilets in the farmhouses, you have to build pack houses, you have to build shower. Imagine that investment in a village, and just imagine that, and you need to secure it, because security is looked at when you look at global gap. So you have to look at, so it's a bit tedious, and I do not know how ready we are for it, but I am more shifting towards organic certification, because basically when you are organic, the market is a niche market that is growing, and it's a lot more, there's a premium you are paid for dealing in organic products. So we're looking to shift towards organic.
Okay.
Yes.
Every state in Nigeria is endowed with mineral and non-mineral products required in the international market in commercial quantities. The One State, One Product initiative seeks to diversify the economy and boost exports. With the support of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, your goods and services will obtain the necessary certifications to sell in destinations across the world. What is more, you do not have to make the journey to distant ports. Connect with NEPC today and we will lead you to where you want to go. Export for survival, optimizing Nigeria's non-oil potentials.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the phytosanitary condition.
Our post-harvest handling is very poor. It's what I inherited. I am sure if you drove to the streets of southern Kaduna at, well, this is the season, you see people who dry ginger on the road, dry it on bare floors, and do not wash it. And I assure you that more than 90-95% of the ginger that leaves this country is not washed. And that is why you look at the fact that ginger needs to be well aired. Now, a lot of these farmers or aggregators in the village have poor warehouses where they do not use pallets. So they put it on the floor, and the cold gets into the ginger, and there's no air, it's humid, and then the ginger starts to go bad. But on the surface, it looks good. When you put that in a container, goes to Lagos, spends 2-3 weeks, and spends another 4 weeks in the sea. By the time it arrives there, when it is tested in the lab, all the microbial load that it has acquired is reflected. You know, it has aflatoxin, ochratoxin, and all the other mycotoxins you can think of, and that is why they reject it. So we have written a letter to meet with the Nigerian Quarantine Services to allow them appreciate what the various standards are. They haven't gotten back to us yet. I would push to find out why they haven't, because this is to enlighten them that, okay, if you see ginger of this sort, you classify it as this. And now we have various grades of ginger. There's the ASTA grade, and ASTA means American Spice Trade Association, which is supposed to be the umbrella standards. But there's another grade that people don't mention. That's the ASTA/EU grade. That is the highest. I say this to you because I know of cases where you've exported to the EU, they rejected it, but it went into the US. So the EU standards is clearly higher than American standards. Now, for phytosanitary, honestly speaking, if we are to just wash the ginger, put it on pallets, ensure it is well dried, it will fly.
What is the aggregate employment level of the ginger industry in Nigeria at the moment? Do you have an idea?
You see, the problem with getting the statistics is that over 500,000 people plant some form of ginger. But okay, you see, they don't do ginger alone. They there's mixed cropping with other things. So you expect that the ginger farmer purely farms ginger, right? But you have the farmer who plants corn, plants ginger, plants beans. He comes in as a ginger farmer, and he's captured in the statistics. So the area, hectarage that they have planted is difficult. Even his farm, he has ginger on one side, corn on one side, and all that. So it's a bit difficult for us to, but actual ginger farmers, just below maybe 100,000. That's what I'll put conservatively. That are dedicated to ginger farmers who have it on 0.1 hectare, 0.2 hectares, 1 hectare, 2 hectares, 5 hectares. Yes, that sort. Yes.
Right. So it actually has greater potential.
It does. It does. It's what people use to take care of bills. They take care of their family. They send their kids to school. They train their children with just farming ginger.
So do we have people that are becoming millionaires because they plant ginger?
Well, plant, no. Aggregate, yes. Ginger is a very expensive crop. Now we're looking at between 1.2, 1.3, depending on your seed rate that you have planted, to 2 million per hectare.
Okay.
How many people have that money in the village? So there are those who individually, you have 1 hectare here, 5 hectare, 8 hectare. Now the guy who comes and aggregates all that and churns it out to probably us exporters, the monies are between that segment of the market and we, the exporters. That is where the money is.
All right. So, but right now on the world market, how much is a ton of ginger?
Every market has the premium they pay.
Okay.
I think Dubai is about 99 cents per pound weight, and that's about $1 something a kilo, and Europe, US about $1.2, $1.3. Then dry split ginger, we're looking at about $1.3, $1.5, $1.7 to $2,000. That is the segment of the market. Is it coming from India, which is, and Peru? Those two offer the most expensive gingers.
Okay.
Nigerian ginger is cheaper because they have to work on it and add value. So ginger, you hear them go, oh, it's Nigerian origin.
Okay.
Which means it has treatment it has to go through.
Okay.
We're working hard to change that narrative.
All right. So, let's now talk about what happened this year. I believe something happened to the ginger crop this year.
Oh, yes. Oh,
okay.
yes.
So, was it a disease that was airborne, waterborne? Was it a microbe? What was it? By pest? What caused the problem in the ginger harvest this year?
We're working together with researchers in the Institute of Agri Research, Zaria, at National University, and we're trying to find causes. They did what's it called, tissue culture for the ginger.
Okay.
To find out the fungi, and they did very well there. They were able to find that it was a fungi called Fusarium pythium, and we found a bit of a cure, and the cure is basically metalaxyl. That's the chemical that was used. Sprayed 2-3 times a week, but the second week it was fine. Now what we don't know, you see, is that ginger in Nasarawa, Benue, all the other states were not affected.
Okay.
So
only ginger in Kaduna state?
Basically, southern Kaduna. Now, there are 1 or 2 people in Nasarawa who said they were affected. But I discovered those 2 people are from Kaduna state and they brought their seeds from Kaduna.
Okay.
So, it's, if you look at it, it is just Kaduna. It transferred. So, it means, I arguably think there are all kinds of theories. And we are not sure what one. Some argued that it was one of the new fertilizers that came in, and that fertilizer probably enhanced the attack. I brushed that aside. Some people are saying soil. I said it's not soil, because if the ginger could be planted in a different place and it has the same effect, it's probably the ginger root itself. Now, your answer to your question, is it airborne? There are a couple of theories. We would say airborne to the seeds. Now, interestingly, we discovered that, now, by the way, more than 60% of the ginger in Southern Kaduna was affected. I'll say that. But those that were not affected, ginger is a crop that you can plant this year and it will stay in the soil for 2 years. You can put, some people say even more, but I know that usually it's 2 years. So people who planted theirs the year before this season, it was barely affected. Some claim theirs was affected, but I know that most of them were not affected. 2, those who did organic, pure, I have yet to meet someone who says his was affected. Their farms are intact. So the question is, we have removed crop rotation, because it is argued that when you farm ginger, you should not farm it more than twice in a row and then plant a different crop.
Yeah.
But there were people who, for their first time, virgin sign, planted ginger and it was affected.
Okay.
So the issue of crop rotation is straight aside. These are just, everybody has a theory.
Okay.
But it's our responsibility to view each one
so
and
that
say
it
if
can
this
be
is
mitigated.
Yes, mitigate. Now, mitigating it again, it's first we know the cause, then we now know how to mitigate it. So we have researchers who are looking into this and then eliminating, no, it can't be this because of this, it can't be this because of that. So it's an ongoing thing for us.
All right. But do we have hope that by the next planting season, this problem would have been taken care of?
I am preaching that we should go organic.
Okay.
Since the organic one, first, it's better. Second, it's climate change. Third, the soil. Fourth, water preservation. Fifth, the corporate social responsibility of using organic. I'm thinking we should go organic.
Okay.
If we go organic, first, the quality of food we're eating is better.
Yeah.
And you see, that way, and a lot of the organic farms are not affected. So let's go for a premium product.
Yeah.
It's conserving land, conserving water, and it is better for us, and we're getting premium.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you studied, and all of your professional milestones.
Wow, okay. Well, basically, economics was what I read in ABU Zaria. And when I left school, I went straight into trying to do business. And actually, right from when I was in university, I tried to export while I was studying. And of course, that didn't go well until after my studies. But I have essentially spent the greater part of my life working for myself. At some point, yes, I took a government appointment. Kaduna State government was an aide in the governor's office, but that was short-lived because the governor died, Yakoa. Yes, so that was short-lived. But probably I have played in various export markets. I have exported zobo, I've exported ginger, I've exported sesame, I've exported cashew nuts, and I have played heavily in the commodity value chain. I have also played as a commodity, solid minerals. I have played in that value chain, but that was a bit too expensive for me, so I shied away from it.
Okay.
But my background generally has been more private sector. You understand, I sit on the boards of a few companies, advisory, and but essentially my core competence is commodities.
Have we even scratched the surface? Are we doing export? What are we doing? Are we good?
We're not an export country. I'll tell you straight, we're not. The issues, I don't know if there's time to talk about it. There are issues. If you look at the infrastructure, start to finish, somebody in Ghana will bring his whatever commodity it is to the port. 3 days later, is on board of a ship. Nigeria, first getting the transport, moving it into the port. It will stagger a few days before it gets into the port. You manage to struggle into the port. Inside the port again, there are issues to solve, and you have all sorts of agencies, NAFTA, police, bomb squad. What are you doing checking something leaving the country? NDLEA, the chain of checks that we go through. A lot of those people have no business checking your container. This discourages people and it increases the risks, and people do not want to export. So if you shift it towards the airports, oh, that is sad. I mean, the NCA charges, the fan charges, the SACO charges, the NACO charges, makes it very unprofitable. I can't compete with someone who has even a slightly expensive of the same commodity in, say, Ghana, and myself, I can't compete because of the charges. The charges end up even being more, far more than the value of the product.
Selling your goods, products and services locally is good, but it can get better when you trade with other nations. With a strategy to diversify the productive base of the Nigerian economy away from oil, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council is driving the Export for Survival initiative. Come on board. Let's take you through major non-oil products you can export and earn at international rates as we equip you with the required knowledge and skills for a successful export business. Export for Survival remains a viable option for economic growth and survival.
The program has been Ventures, and this week we focused on ginger and the markets therein. We'll do this again same time next week. Thank you for joining us. Ventures, always celebrating enterprise.